The president has all but said that he said this. He's trying to deflect and put the, he's doing the classic straw man of, oh, I didn't say X. Well, no, we didn't say that you said those countries should be shut down. We didn't say any of those trivial things. What we said was we know exactly what you said, right? I want to pull up his tweet while this computer takes forever. But the president of the United States is really in a juvenile way trying to deflect from what he actually said. And this is no surprise. The question is, from a political aspect, is how much longer will the Republican Party and conservative voters continue to hitch their success to this man who has demonstrated there is no depth, there's no end to his depravity. So here he said, this is what he's deflecting with. This is the president on Twitter saying, never said anything derogatory about Haitians other than Haiti is obviously a very poor and troubled country. Never said, quote, take them out. Well, President Trump, no one's even talking about that, right? No one who said anything about you're saying they should take them out. And of course, this is resonating with his followers with 10,000 retweets and 34,000 likes, because it gives them something to now talk about. The president didn't say to take them out. Well, bitch, nobody even had a conversation about that. We're referring to the president speaking of a sovereign nation of black people and brown people and referring to it as a shithole, as a means of, the rest of it is important, right? As a means of justifying why we should not do anything to help them, to help their to restore their temporary protective status, right? Today marks 2010. Today marks 8 years since the earthquake in Haiti that killed 160,000 people. There is a legitimate reason why we established a temporary protective status for Haitians to come to the United States, because their country was devastated after being devastated by France, after being devastated by the United States, after being devastated by hurricanes. Now they were devastated in 2010, rather, they were devastated by a massive earthquake that killed almost 160,000 people. And to the request that we do something to actually help another nation in our hemisphere, not that that means anything, the president refers to them in an aggravated sense, saying, why do we keep getting people from these shithole nations? Of course, we have to address the reason why they are poor and troubled. The reason they're poor and troubled, the reason any third world nation is a third world nation, they have been raped by European and colonial powers throughout history. They're in Africa right now, extracting massive amounts of wealth from Africa right now. And you mean to tell me in 30 years, when we're looking at them and wondering why those regions are still destabilized, why there's so many failed states in the region, we're going to look at it and say, we have no idea why they're in the situation that they're in. I want to read the response from Haiti. Haiti's ambassador was speaking to Yamiki. I forgot her last name. I believe she's with the Washington Post now. I forget who she works with. But this is her tweet on Twitter. She talked to the Haiti's ambassador to the United States, Paul Altador, who said that he and the Haitian government vehemently condemn President Trump's comments, which they believe are based on stereotypes. Either the president has been misinformed or he is miseducated. I would say that he's both. Haiti's U.S. ambassador tells her that Haiti's government has formally summoned a U.S. official to explain Trump's comments to Haiti's officials. Haitians fought alongside the U.S. soldiers in the Revolutionary War, and we continue to be great contributors to American society, he said. You know, the thing about it is like, one thing I don't like is, and they are free to address this however they want to address it. For me personally, it becomes less about trying to prove Haiti's worth Because once you get into that conversation, it's already a condescending conversation. It's already, I'll leave it there. I don't want to say anything else. It's already a condescending conversation once you try to prove to people who don't care about your worth, they don't care about your contribution, they're pretending to be asleep when knowing full and damn well everything that you've done to build this country. It's convenient for them to ignore everything that you've done because it's politically expedient. It plays to their base. There was an author, I forgot who this was, on a journalist rather, on Fox News last night, who said that this is not surprising and this is not going to affect Donald Trump's base whatsoever. Now, you mean to tell me, to a group of people who are not going to be fazed by the president of the United States creating an international incident with his stupidity, you mean to tell me that they're going to be moved one bit by reciting Haiti's contributions and the significance of the nation to the hemisphere, the significance of the nation to the American Revolution? They're not going to be moved by that. But I know, I mean, again, they can address it, the ambassador and Haiti will and can address it the way they see fit. I just, for me personally, don't believe in, I mean, I just tell them go to hell and to kiss our black asses, because that's where we are. We're not at a place where the president is going to give an apology, where if the president of the United States was magnanimous enough to actually apologize for something and to be repentant about what he did, we would never be in these situations that we're in the first place. So he's incapable of feeling remorse. He's incapable of offering a sincere apology. If he was, he would not be doing some of the things that he's doing now. Think of the depth of this. Think of how low we are, how low you have to be to be the leader of the, not to just think these things, right? Because plenty of people think these things, but to be the president of the United States, the leader of the free world, supposedly the most powerful man in the world, whose words can start an international incident, and yet you just callously say this because it comes from the depth of your heart. This plays right into the conversation that we had on yesterday. On yesterday, we talked about how many of these politicians and elected officials actually grew up and had their entire worldview shaped by Jim Crow, because we're dealing with people in their 70s and their 80s, people who were born in the 30s and the 40s, who had fully formed worldviews by the time of the 1964 and 1965 Civil Rights Act and Voting Rights Act. And, you know, you cannot tell me that some of these people were not on the opposite side. Some of these elected officials in Washington, D.C. right now were not on the opposite side of those lunch counters, harassing and hurting and beating and abusing black and brown, well, black people. I'm so used to saying black and brown people, but black people. You can't tell me. You can't tell me that Donald Trump during that time was looked down on black people simply because they were black. Mitch McConnell, who was born at that time, Joe Arpaio, Roy Moore, you know, let's just go down the list. How many of them had their entire worldview shaped and framed by the Jim Crow period in American history, who are leading our country now? So it should not be a shock to us that they espouse these types of talking points and that they are still protecting a system. We are not that far removed from the civil rights movement.